Hey guys, how's it going? Kripparrian here. Today I wanted to make this extra video to cover the expansion that was just announced, coming up in a few months. And it is the Whispers of the Old Gods. So Blizzard just talked about this, not too long ago, and I wanted to cover some of the details, some of the cards they announced, and, what we can expect. So, the first thing we'd probably expect is the expansion to come out really, really soon, and it's not. The expansion is scheduled to come out at the end of April or early May, and basically what this means is late April, in Blizzard terminology, is roughly the 22nd plus, so the earliest this expansion could possibly come out is 6 weeks, and maybe a little bit more than that. It's a tentative date because they're not too sure, I suppose, when they're going to be ready. And before this expansion comes out, they are going to have a content patch next week, in fact, and some of these features are very important. We're going to get some of those brewing deck things. They're basically going to have some kind of automated deck crafter for people who are just starting up and trying to make cool, interesting decks. It's not really going to work because there are no new or cool, interesting decks right now. I guess, it's a feature just for new players to get a little bit of a foot in the door, basically. And we're going to get finally 9 more deck slots, which we don't actually really need right now because there are not even 9 decks that are really competitive play on ladder. So, yeah, good features, but we'll see. We'll actually get to test them when the expansion comes out, which will be, some time from now. So, that aside, they announced the expansion to talk about some of the cards. It is going to be a 134 card expansion, so huge stuff, but if you're an arena player, a little bit smaller stuff than you might be used to. So the reason I mention that is there are a lot of themed cards that go along the legendary cards. So before I go into that, let's just talk about the structure of release. So they're going to have a promotional event. If you're going to log in your account during the promotional period, which is usually in the first few weeks of the expansion being released, you're going to get 3 packs for free and Cthulhu, or Cthulhu. I like Cthulhu. Anyway, so you're going to get this card just for logging in. So yeah, it's a good idea to log in, open your packs, get some of the freebies, because why not? They're freebies. So, Cthulhu is pretty good. He does the Avenging Wrath effect, and the interesting thing about this expansion is a lot of the cards directly affect the old gods. So if we look at the Beckoner of Evil, the battle cry is to give your Cthulhu +2/+2 wherever it is. So if it's in your hand, if it's in your deck, and they showed this cool animation thing about kind of how it worked, where you get to actually see Cthulhu in the deck. I don't know if this will actually work if Cthulhu is not in the deck, and we'll certainly find out when it comes to Arena, because most likely these cards are not going to be so great when it comes to Arena, because you're going to have a huge wait. So whenever an expansion comes out, in Constructed, you just get those cards. In Arena, you get an increased likelihood of seeing those cards when you craft your deck. And if you get with this process, and you also have to consider that you're going to get much more of the common cards than you are of the rare cards, so you're almost never going to get Cthulhu, or Cthulhu, but you're going to get lots of Beckoner of Evils. Well, the one guy who is going to actually get Cthulhu is going to kick ass, and the rest of the guys are going to have a fairly washed out deck. So that is maybe a little bit disappointing, but some of the cards they did actually announce outside of this are actually pretty interesting outside of this mechanic. So they also mentioned there's going to be 4 old gods. They didn't talk about how the other old gods would have similar cards and similar effects, but they probably will. As far as cards are concerned, we'll have to see. Cthulhu seems like a pretty powerful dude, and I think it'll see some play. Well, hopefully. I'd imagine they test this stuff. So I'd have to say, with some degree of confidence, that these decks will be somewhat competitive because they'll really try to make them work with this aspect. So there's going to be 16 cards that affect Cthulhu. With 4 Old Gods, that's a good chunk of the expansion. That's like probably close to half the expansion are going to be cards that directly interact with the Old Gods, if it is proportional, which it might not be. Twilight Elder is another card that they showed off that has this type of interaction. It's a pretty good card. It's a common if you're playing Arena with this. It's a 3-mana 3/4, and that's pretty good. So it doesn't really affect Arena in a negative way because all these cards seem to have top tier stats, but it is like, this guy affects Cthulhu, this guy affects other Old Gods, this guy affects other Old God. I don't actually have any of these cards, so that is kind of going to be a bit wonky, I think. They also showed off 3 other cards, and in these 3 cards, they really try to highlight the notion that the old cards from the older sets are like corrupted by these old gods, and they have like new and weird effects. So Polluted Hoarder is kind of like a transition from Loot Hoarder. It's proportionally the same. It's a 4-mana 4/2 as opposed to a 2-mana 2/1 with a Death Rattle to draw a card. Now the difference between 1 and 2 health is colossal when it comes to Arena. I'm not too sure how any of these cards really play out in Constructed. Constructed is much harder to guess, but I can tell you in Arena this will be a pretty damn good card. Card advantage is very important, and often if you're going back and forth or if you're marginally ahead, the attack value on a minion is the relevant side of it, and if it just has more than 1 health so it doesn't die to like a hero power, it is going to be a meaningful effect. So if you play Polluted Hoarder, it might, be just an okay 4-drop, but it might stop them from actually playing a 5/4 and screw up their whole game. So the stat distribution is very, very precise, very good when it comes to Arena tempo games. So I like that a lot about it. And we have the Corrupted Healbot, and as opposed to Healing You, which we kind of need a lot more healing effects if we're going to keep these aggro decks at bay. It heals your opponent when it dies. And, this mechanic is a little bit disappointing for the players who are hoping for an additional heal. Well, there's a lot of cards in the set. We might actually get some additional heals. But the Corrupted Healbot, just on its own, seems to be a pretty decent card. It seems to work with Auchenai Soul Priest pretty well, and might actually like push for a Mech Priest deck, but it won't be in standard format. It'll be in the wild format, as you can't really use any of the other mechs. Then we have the Validated Doomsayer. So unlike Doomsayer, it does seem like this guy is encouraged to do some damage. 5 mana 0/7 at the start of your turn. This minion's attack goes to 7. So this plays around a lot of the manipulation effects, a lot of the peacekeeping effects, because the attack it'll go up at the start of every turn. So consequently, you probably don't want to put a buff on this guy, and he really, really sucks if he gets silenced. So because of all that, I think the effect of this card are going to be pretty poor, but I don't really care. The art and probably the theme around this card is going to be pretty awesome as well. A few other details in regard to the expansion. That's all the cards that they announced right now. They said they're going to release the cards throughout the weekend, and probably 134. Even if the expansion is stretched out really, really far away, we're still going to have kind of like a constant flow of cards. So you can expect quite a few card reviews from the Kripp, so make sure to stay tuned for those. Now, the Wild and Standard format, that's not coming out next week. So that format is going to be coming out with the expansion. And really, the excitement is just going to build up to that. But it's going to build up pretty slowly because, again, it is so far away. That's really the only really disappointing thing about what they talked about. And they mentioned a few links. One of the funniest things in the presentation, I just thought I'd mention it. They basically, Blizzard did like a huge promo for GoDaddy because they told people to go to oldgods.com, and apparently nobody's even purchased this website, or maybe this happens when the traffic goes up like crazy. I don't know. So I like that little bit of a fail in there. It's just kind of a bit cute. Anyway, I hope you guys are excited about the expansion just as much as I am, and we'll see what comes up. Let me know what you guys think of the new cards. Let me know what you guys think overall. Hope you guys enjoy it. And stay tuned for the other video today.